No
like
worries.
this. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go.
Okay.
Welcome to the Post-War podcast recorded at our bunker studios somewhere hidden in Berlin. I'm Pablo Denegri, your host, and today's guest is South Korean engineer and media artist Hojun Song. Hojun, thank you very much for being here.
Okay. Thank you so much for inviting me.
We met many years ago, once in Buenos Aires. You were in a conference about your satellite project, but it's a tradition from this show to start from the origins. And I wanted to know what was for you the origin of what you end up doing in your life.
Maybe it has a lot to do with the snowboarding. I'd say.
You snowboard a lot, yeah?
Yes, and when I was in college, as an engineering student, I wanted to do something else, but then I become addicted to street arts. Or like skateboarding and BMX and
Street
snowboarding.
culture, so
Yes,
to
street
say.
cultures.
Yeah.
But then I have to decide where to go after I graduate the university. But then I don't want to go to the engineering school after engineering school in university. So I don't want to go to graduate school. So I want to find something that can mix with and mix engineering with something else, like for example art. So I was able to find media lab in MIT. But I couldn't go to MIT because I snowboarded a lot, so my GPA was not that great.
Do you mean the Massachusetts
Institute of
Technical-
Technology,
yeah.
yes. So at that time, I think, as far as I know, MIT Media Lab was the only media lab, or a few media lab that works with the technology and art, right? So I found that from TV, one of the TV show. So I wanted to go something similar, but so I was able to go to something similar in South Korea.
Okay, before you studied engineering, do you recall something in your life where you felt the approach from art and technology firsthand, where you felt that there was this potential in this dialogue or creative potential in technology or vice versa? Do you recall this kind of
Actually,
experience?
no. I mean, when I thought about it, after I talked to other people that I want to become an artist, but I had never thought about becoming an artist when I went to high school or a university, because I don't know, because I couldn't get away from my thoughts at that time. So
The thoughts were snowboarding.
snowboarding, or even like I wanted to become a professional snowboarder, but at the same time I had a thought in my mind that I should be continuing what I was doing, which was engineering. So maybe I wasn't brave enough to do something else at the time. So maybe I was so passive, but then I went to graduate school that's doing the art and technology stuff. So I started to do exhibitions. People starting to telling me something about my work, and then so I also decided to then quit the graduate school at the time, because
Okay.
I couldn't do it as a student at the time.
And one of your most known project is the OSI Open Source Satellite Initiative. And I heard from a talk from you, you were kind of explaining this project in relation to your decision after engineering studies and decision to take an artistic approach on this project in an interesting way that I found very telling. You said something like, you like to think about space. And so normally people, because they are taking care of normal stuff, they don't have time to keep thinking about things. They like to think they are so far away, like space. So you found a way with this project, specifically with an artistic approach to these projects, to give yourself the excuse to keep thinking about space. I don't know if you know, pataphysics is vanguard from the late 19th century, influenced a lot of vanguard artistic movements for 100 years, but comes from theater mostly. But one of the definitions of pataphysics is an imaginary solution to non-existing problems, something like that.
Yes.
And I found your satellite initiative, which is a real thing. It's not like a fantasy thing, but the approach is very special. I would like to know how you found this, the approach you end up taking between your engineering studies and this artistic approach that I guess is, I don't know if it started with the OSI project or if you have this sort of project before, or how you come to that.
Okay. So I was lucky enough to be in an internship for one of the small satellite building company in South Korea, which was called Satellite Initiative. But so I was doing some research, and then I was able to find out that CubeSat program, which is like really small microsatellite programs.
This was already like an educational project that
Yes.
was on
like in
America,
in USA, or also in Berlin and in Europe as well too. I think Delft in Netherlands, in some other places as well. So I knew that it was possible to launch a satellite as a small group of people. And then I also wanted to know that if it's possible to launch a satellite as an individual. But still, that doesn't intrigue me at that time, because launching a satellite as an individual might be regarded as something just a bragging or showing off. Nothing about art or nothing about...
Hello, Elon Musk.
right, yeah, things like that. So, but then we started to see the maker movements in the early, let's say, 2000. So I was thinking about this satellite project in 2008, like December, that I thought it'd be, we can create a lot of narratives out of launching a satellite as an individual with the help of DIY technologies that's available all over the internet at that time. So that's how I started. I didn't have any previous OSSA like project before, but I really want to bring up the issues of DIY electronics, but it's not just in electronics, but if you can launch a satellite, then you can do anything, like any kinds of things that you can imagine. So, yes.
But I mean, you're an engineer, but you didn't have the knowledge to achieve by yourself this kind of project. Let's say you had to learn.
Yes.
During the process.
Yes. So I mean, what I did at that time was I just told everybody that I'm going to launch a satellite. Then, yeah, I mean, it happened in 2013 that I was able to launch a satellite. But in the beginning, I didn't have any specific plan or how I was going to do it or things like that, how I was going to raise the money or any plans. But yes.
So it started as this powerful idea, more like an imaginative idea that you weren't 100% sure you were going to achieve.
No. At the time, I wasn't sure.
Right.
But like, why not?
Right.
Was my, I think, idea in the beginning. Yeah.
Because the project itself, the process of trying to do this project says a lot already about how difficult it is to grasp or make any kind of activity outside the atmosphere, if you're not even a government or a huge international company.
Right.
So the whole process of an individual trying to do also with a non-utilitaristic function or artistic function, one would hope that you will find many obstacles in a way, right? Because it's not something people would expect. How was your experience with that process?
Oh yeah, so it's I'm glad that you bring up that issue, because I also expected a lot of obstacles in the beginning. So that's one of the point that I started that project, because expecting obstacles and then how to deal with it could also generate a lot of issues and narratives. But then I didn't have much of the obstacles. So that was strange, actually.
Right.
I thought I was going to have a lot of obstacles, but that other than, let's say, money and time, no obstacles from science community, no obstacles from global communities, no obstacles from Korean government, I was surprised because the scene is so small that if you want to do it, you could do it. It's
Right.
not like making a cell phone and then selling it to other countries where you have a lot of restrictions and laws.
It's easier than produce a cell phone and sell to other
Yes,
countries.
it's much easier at that time.
To send a satellite to space.
Right. So I thought, I mean, I didn't like the word that there's no impossible or something like that. But I would say impossible was expensive. It's just expensive. So it was totally possible. In that sense, I kind of failed at my project because I didn't have that much of an obstacles. And then even so,
Were you planning to have obstacles and
Yes,
made the
yes.
project about that originally?
Right. Yes, I
Right.
was expecting it, and then so I can talk about it.
Right.
Like I was kind of expecting people telling me that you should not put garbages on the space. You shouldn't do it as an artist. You
Right.
shouldn't. You're outsider, Asian, like nobody. Why do you want to launch a satellite into the space? Kind of a response, but I didn't have that. I got cheered up by all the people wherever I went. So
No Men in Black came to
No,
protect
no.
a secret.
nothing like that. So, I mean, I have prepared a lot at that time to talk back, like how it's possible. I mean, as an individual to launch a satellite, but then everybody was just, gave me good words. So I was a little bit disappointed with that.
And why do you think that was your miscalculation?
Oh.
That so many scientists, so many institutions were up for it, actually, in the end.
So that's a good question, because I thought the technology that's used in satellite is exactly the same as the technology that's used in missile technologies, right? So if you want to launch a satellite, that means that you're also learning the technologies about intercontinental missiles, right? You're using
Right.
aerospace grade electronic components to build something that's functioning
In defense
in the space,
technologies.
right? So which is totally similar to or the same as the electronics for the missiles, right? But then no one blames me about it, but gave me a good words. I think it's because of they have a stereotypical way of thinking when it comes to the space project. It's about dreaming. It's about adventure, exploration, and blah blah blah, right? But
Right.
then, which to me, I found it really interesting because we say science is very objective. But to me, the science that, especially when it comes to the space or the satellite, it's very subjective. That's why I came up with the words called science is fantasy.
Right.
Not from a perspective that I really like science is like the fantasy, but it's more of like science is fantasy because there's a lots of vague things going on, lots of things are politicals, and scientists also talks to their nations. And nationalisms, all kinds of things happening there.
Right.
But then the reason why I got cheered up, I don't have any obstacles was because of those stereotypical image of space program.
Because also in grown-up serious rocket scientists, they still keep this romanticized approach to space. That would be the...
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, think about Elon Musk. Elon Musk is like... they are cheering for the success of SpaceX's rocket, but which is at the same time are producing the most amount of like CO2s and destroying the Earth, trying to go to the Mars situation, right? So while we are controlling the car technologies, but we don't talk anything about Elon Musk or anybody's rocket launchings these days, because when you launch a rocket, you're doing good for the humanities, right? But if you launch something in other countries like North Korea or let's say Russia, people are telling that as a missiles.
Or,
they don't care whether that's
spy balloons.
Right. They don't care whether that's a rocket or missiles or let's say spy satellite or not, but all the other countries are telling those countries as launching a missiles, right? So it has a really double standard issues, which I thought it was interesting. But I'm from South Korea, which is like a democratic country where we got close to the USA and all the Europe. So that's why I think I don't have any obstacles, maybe.
Of course.
Yes. People romanticize.
Definitely there's a geopolitical inclination to support, I think, South Korea rather than North Korea.
Right. So that's why I think in that sense I failed.
Too politically correct, maybe.
Right. I couldn't bring up issues in that sense because I was too maybe like Americanized.
Right.
Like from outsider's point of view as well.
So you thought there was some kind of fear in the rocket science knowledge that is preserved only for a small group. This was your thesis in a way. And at some point of the process of launching something to space, you expected that there was a secretive sphere or some kind of possibility for the normal person to break some kind of knowledge or some kind of
Yes. I thought like I was
bureaucratic, diplomatic,
issues or some. So that's something that I expected in the beginning. Actually, I also talked similar things by the time I wanted to launch a satellite 10 years ago. That I was referencing the examples of the radioactive, I think 1912. So all the radio technologies were actually invented by the amateur radio operators. So it was not part of any country's legislation or anything like that before 1912, as far as I know. The reason why it became legislated by U.S. government at that time was there was a Titanic incident. And then some amateur radio operator actually SOS to the other people, so half of the people were able to get rescued, right? With the help of amateur radio operator.
Right.
But then when it was coming back to New York, I think one of the radio operators told the people that everybody got rescued while half of them died.
You're talking about the Titanic?
Yeah, Titanic incident. So the U.S. government wanted to regulate the radio because one amateur radio.
This is it's called short short wave radio, something like that.
No.
It's amateur.
Yeah,
I don't know
maybe,
the
yes.
technicalities
Yes,
to
yeah.
it, but it's
So-
something anyone could use, so to say.
Right. So the original intent of the amateur radio operator was actually trying to rescue the people, but then it ended up getting a blame by the people because the amateur radio operator gave disappointments to the people by telling wrong informations, and then that triggered Radio Act of 1912. And then as far as I understand, that's the origin of the radio law, which is one of the most strict law that I think human ever made.
To
right?
restrict civil radio use.
Yeah, also the espionage or spy. So they've been trying to regulate the radio from the beginning, but they couldn't find an excuse. But that triggered the excuses to make a law. So I was kind of expecting something like that. Not
Right,
expecting, but
because your satellite uses radio
yes.
instead of GPS, for
Yeah,
example.
and
right?
also like as an individual, if you starting to launch a satellite, they could maybe bring up some chaos. But as far as I know, there's no individual other than me launching a satellite after I launched the satellite. So that I was mistaken, but
Okay.
that's what I thought in the beginning.
Yeah.
That if individuals were starting to launch a satellite, people might be trying to come up with a law or something that will restrict individual to launch a satellite. But it's still not happening these days, and people are still seeing Elon Musk's action as a really heroic actions these days. So I think there must be something about those romanticisms in space, right?
Definitely. I mean, in the end, the restrictions there are, or the non-restrictions there are, have to do with capitalism, right? If you have enough money, you can do it.
Right.
In a way.
Right.
And for a normal person to do it, it requires, I think it's $100,000 just to shoot it.
Yes. That's just the launching cost, not that doesn't count for the making or testing or going in and out. But I don't know about the price these days. Maybe it
went up.
It went up, but I don't know. I haven't checked it. But I'm seeing a lot of people a lot of small institutions like universities or small institutions or the corporations are now launching a satellite, like small satellite as well. But I don't know how they deal with the communication issues. Like I don't think they can get the frequencies for their satellites. So yeah, but
I liked you said 100,000 euros is more or less the price for a Porsche auto. Some people would prefer to buy a Porsche, but you would prefer to send your satellite to Spain.
Yes, at that time. Yes,
I was telling my girlfriend yesterday. I was watching this conference from you. And she was like, of course, if you launch a satellite, the whole life you will tell everyone you launch your artwork to space. It's like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But there's also the thing with utilitarianism and functionalism, right? Even someone with capabilities to do it will not find an argument to do it if there's no profit in it. There's also this no profit thing that maybe makes it something not so attractive, or why you thought also will not take so much track, you know. And this size is fantasy motto from you, I think it's it cuts a lot of the projects you do, but with this project of the satellite specifically, it started as a completely speculative, fantasized solution for a project. So you would keep thinking about space and not be distracted with something else. And it ended up being science in a way,
Right,
like
right.
officially. And you said in an interview that since the project was not over, I don't know if it's over now, but you could not say if it was an art project or a science project. What do you think now about that?
So I think this year was 10th anniversary of the OSSI satellite launching. So it's been 10 years. I thought a lot about it after launching a satellite. It's definitely, I think it's not a science project because I think even still these days science are done by government or the institutions. Some people say there's a citizen science and things like that, but I don't know who came up with the word citizen science, but
Flat earthers.
the real scientists call those people citizen science. So I think the current science are still done by mostly institutions. So in that sense, my project is not science project definitely, but from an art point of view, I still haven't narrowed it down about what I wanted to say out of satellite project. So I would say it's still going on. It has a lot to do with the maybe art or maybe writing a novel or telling other people about stories. So I haven't come up with or narrow it down to the certain things yet. So, but it affects me a lot. To something else right after the satellite launching. Yes.
And did it change your view on this interaction between these dichotomies like individual, institution, amateur, professional, art, technology, fantasy, science? So do you think you learned something different or that you transform your view regarding these dichotomies with the OSI project?
So one thing that's definitely changed my view right after satellite launching was I want to democratize this satellite launching, right?
Right.
By making it as an open source. But people still, right after the launching of satellite, people wanted to look up after me. Like, oh, you did great things and things like that. While I want to democratize the satellite launching, I want to diminish the meaning of the
Personalization.
Satellite. Right.
Yeah.
But then it was not possible. Just
Right.
like because of the space romanticism.
The guy could launch a satellite to
Yeah,
space.
he did that. He did that. So I've been trying to self-disrespect my project for such a long time so that other people can ignore what I have done and then they can start their own things, right? But that it wasn't possible. So I was keep thinking about how can we, let's say, deconstruct the meaning of launching a satellite as an individual actually affects me a lot. So I starting to become obsessed with the randomness because if you telling other people that the process of launching a satellite has a lot to do with the coincidence, that's like a deconstructing your
It's unexpected.
right.
thought.
Right. I didn't have any specific plan.
Right.
I just follow the coincidence happenings, and then I was able to launch a satellite. So that's like my line I want to say. But some people, especially when like you're seeing the TED Talk or like TV shows or traditional medias, people are always trying to telling other people about how they did something from a narrative point of view, like causal thinking. I did A, and then the results is the B kind of talk, which I really didn't like at that time. So I want to deconstruct the process of launching a satellite. So I became obsessed with the randomness, and then I got really obsessed with the data, AI, all kinds of
During
different.
this project.
Yes. So the satellite project, it's I would say it's still I'm using lots of technologies, but not meaning that I'm literally coding or making, but like from my head, I'm in that mentality that talks about social phenomena or things from a technological point of view, but to deconstruct
Right.
or yeah.
And this then this project took you to this obsession with the randomness and
Yes.
algorithm, and maybe it gave birth to this new project, Don't Compress Me. You are
Yes.
working right now. You want to? I mean, is it connected? Am I right that
Yes,
this
it's
was
totally-
like a projection of this research in a way?
Yes, I mean, so the obsession of me about randomness comes from the deconstruction of, let's say, established project of mine, which was the satellite project, and then I think in 2005. So it was before the satellite project, but then I first show that I show was in Berlin in 2015. So that's like after launching a satellite, and then I wanted to do it because I thought Don't Compress Me project is about the randomness. So it's about you versus video algorithm, like for example H.264 video compression algorithm. So you stand in front of the camera for 10 seconds and I tell people move, but then those people had to move so that they cannot compress by the video algorithm. So I asked them to move random and fast, try to increase more information about you so that you can have larger file size. So that was the basic idea of Don't Compress Me. But it's basically about how you move random.
Right. The product in the end is people moving crazy in
Yes,
front of the screen to try the compressor to glitch.
Yeah,
or
to
not
try
to
not to
glitch.
get compressed.
Not to get compressed.
Right.
So you have to generate information in the certain
Yes.
way.
So like in the era of, let's say, artificial intelligence, you are likely to be predicted by the AIs these days because AI will average you out. And then if you're in the middle, meaning that if you're like other people, then you will be predicted by the artificial intelligence. But as an artist, you want to be unique. You want to be outside of that prediction zone. And then how can we go there, right? If you keep thinking logically, meaning that it's basically you're like everybody else. But if you embrace randomness, or if you're starting to throw out the dices, and then you are not making a decision to go anywhere, then you will maybe end up going like nowhere. But that's like the beginning of the new discovery, right? So
if you move random enough, you end up having a larger file, and then you win, so to say. It's kind of a game.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, I'm telling other people that we are trying to find a new type of people that in the era of data and random, which is the AI times, right? So I really want to promote this idea, which is also about deconstructing the, let's say, thinking about conventional choreographies from dancers. It's coming from their head, right? They are thinking about the movements of themselves. But to create a true unique dance movement, I think Don't Compress Me project
That cannot be predicted by an AI that studied choreography, for example.
Right. And also, because we are promoting randomness, you will end up discovering new movement that you never thought about. But if you're in, let's say, dance theater or school in certain countries, you end up thinking or creating your move based on the former traditional movement, right?
Right.
Which will restrict your imaginations. So then how can we break that barrier? Through randomness, I would
Because
say.
it's language in a way, no?
Yes.
Everything we do, I mean, not only the algorithm, we also kind of function in that way. We repeat predetermined patterns
Right.
that are familiar to us and that will be interpreted by others equally, right?
Yes, yes.
In that sense, we are not so different from the robot. Or what do you think?
I would say that's what AI is telling us these days, that we are not that special. Because we are so alike other people in many ways. So we are mostly robots. We've been living our lives like that. So I really thank AI for that, to enlighten us. And also that gives us chance to think different from now on because of the AI. Okay, how can you think different or act different? Because now you know that you're nobody. You're just like robots or
Right.
any other people. If you want to be like you, then what is it? How can we act different? So I'm sorry that maybe AI will replace some of the jobs, but I really also thank that AI for teaching us that we are just not that great human beings. So we have to be careful
Not
about
so special.
not so special, right? So we shouldn't destroy the natures or anything like that. We are just,
Right.
yes. So thank
It's
you
a
for
really,
the AI.
it's a really fun project, and you achieve in a way to move yourself a bit from the center, not like the satellite project where it was impossible to take distance from the guy who launched a satellite. Maybe with this Don't Compress Me project, you achieved to take yourself a bit from the center of the discussion, and it's something maybe more directly interactive or collaborative between the people and the work itself.
Yes, yes.
I don't know if you see it like that or.
So that's why I want to make it as a world competition. So I studied one in Seoul last year, and I really want to do it one in Berlin as well. So to find a new type of people that can, let's say, work against the AI or the video compression algorithm, and then I really don't want these events happening in white cubish art space, but it'd be really nice if we can do it here in Neukölln or like where people gathers, and then we will be able to see many different kind of races, sexes, different countries, and so because I think if we could ever be able to find a new type of people, then I think it will be, those new type of people cannot be coming from, I think, traditional university or typical education. I think it will, the person will come from very unique places, I think. So, yeah.
One other thing this AI revolution, it seems to be teaching us also, is like the ways of incorporating knowledge and sharing knowledge are have definitely changed, right? And one can see the traditional institutionalized linear causal education model as antique maybe, or not fast enough or capable enough to acquire knowledge at the pace that we would need right now. No, that's why you're expecting maybe that the new actor of culture comes from more from
Yes, yes.
the margins of the like self-taught hacker or something like that.
And also like the attitude of embracing the randomness. Like for example, because we always denied randomness because we don't feel safe once when we have to deal with the randomness, because we really want to fix everything, decide everything in the beginning. But I think now it is time to embrace the randomness and coincidence, high quality randomness, to, let's say, live in this era, from not like the antique education, I would say.
And we don't have too much time. I know you have a commitment. I want to thank you again
Thank you so much.
for coming and taking the time. For the last time, I know you are very much into sailing now.
Yes, yes.
I don't know if you want to say something about it before we talk about the future visions.
Okay.
What is your sailing activities have to do with your art projects right now?
Okay, so first of all, my sailboat's name is Random.
Okay.
Okay, so
Perfect.
and then it's all about randomness actually. Reading a wind and reading a waves, reading a nature has a lot to do with your experience, not like your natural instinct or DNA, but it has a lot to do with like experience. You have to know. But if we don't explain the experience, people call it random. So it means a lot to me. So I really want to do something similar, just like you do, podcast inside of the sailboat. That was the idea, actually.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. So, but we are going to drink a lot, and then
Right.
we will be just talking like a near future movie scenario type of discussion.
Ah, wow.
So-
in the middle of the ocean.
Yes, yes. So no responsibility. If you're an expert, it doesn't matter.
Wow.
We can just try to do the brainstorming. That's the basic idea
Ah,
right now.
wow.
Yes, but
I had no idea the sailing project was connected to this kind of.
Oh, because sailing is all about promoting randomness. So it starts from there, which can be also linked to the AI and all those conversations that's happening right now. So.
And to close up, the last part usually here is I ask the guest to share a feeling or vision for your future. I know you are involved a lot with technology and all this stuff. You must have either optimistic or pessimistic view, and I would like to know and why.
I would say, I think we've already talked about this, but we have to really see the behind the meaning of AI, not just get intimidated by the AI, but what's actually telling us. And I think in the future, we will be seeing people embracing more about randomness or the black box. People used to trying to explain everything like into details, but we will have an era that we will just accept certain things as it is, just like what AI is doing now these days, like training AI into Korean-speaking AI. We don't know how it is working, but it is working. But if we're starting to accept this kind of thing, I think it will totally change our education, philosophy, how we think. So I'm really looking forward to those futures coming, because it's gonna change everything, I would say, into religions or anything. So
Embrace randomness.
yes,
then.
yes.
Thank you very much,
Thank you so
Hojun,
much.
for coming.
Okay, thank you so much for
Thanks
bringing
everybody for listening, and I will leave your links in the description of the video, and we'll see us next time in the future.
Okay,
Bye
thank
bye.
you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to give us a like and a comment under the video. If you want to see more, click here, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.